Let's get into it. You're about to see Bill Maher get dismantled with just regular old, easy to look up facts. He's doing a whole book tour and he's doing his rounds on different shows, and he ends up on Megyn Kelly's show. And Megyn Kelly calmly dismantles him with facts in regards to Trump's presidency, Trump conceding the election, who the real originator of not conceding elections actually was. Then they get into J6, and then we're going to end it off with a sweet uppercut from Bill Maher when Bill Maher and Bill Burr actually sat down together. Let's get into it. Bill Maher's TDS on full display. He's a classy guy. He's not rabid like Rosie and Robert De Niro. You know, he's more like a zombie. He's more like one of those zombies that you can't tell they're a zombie till you get a little too close and then they go in on you. All right. Well, you got to watch yourself around Bill Maher. Let's get into it.
I don't know what could possibly be more fundamental to you or anyone than you have to concede elections. And he hasn't conceded the last one. He's plainly not going to concede this one. He now has all of his sycophants around him parroting his party line, which is when they ask them, will you abide by the election results? Yes, if it's a free and fair election, which is another way of saying if we win. You really think this is a place this country should be?
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to defend the election denialism. I'm not one of those people who believes that.
But what's more important? What kind of country do we have?
How about my daughter not going into a locker room and seeing a man's penis?
That's important too. I'm talking about the difference between this and something fundamental, which is our democracy. The fact that you have to respect who wins an election, or else you don't have the kind of country we've always had before.
How about...
I mean, I feel like we keep going around the roseberry bush about this, and we're not going to make any progress, so let's stop talking about it. But,
you keep saying sort of I'm nuts because I don't see the difference between the elephant and the mouse, and I'm telling you I identify them differently than you do. Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
Okay. You only get two choices.
That's right.
You get Donald Trump, a criminal election denier who is going to transform this country into an authoritarian place like we've never seen before, or you get Joe Biden with all his flaws.
Also
and
a criminal.
Problems. Okay, what is his crime again?
Special counsel Robert Hur said he'd committed felonies, but he wouldn't indict him because he was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. He couldn't get a conviction in front of a jury.
And what was that crime? That was the...
Classified documents. All over his basement, his garage, everywhere.
Well, okay, here's the difference. Immediately, Biden, he shouldn't have had them. Immediately, he said, oh, sorry, my bad, and gave them back.
That's why he didn't get charged with obstruction. But Trump has two classified documents, pieces to his case. One is you had them, and the second is you obstructed justice when we demanded them back. So, okay, against Biden, you don't get charged with obstruction. But number one, where's the classified documents charge against him? He's also a felon.
You got your story. I look.
Why can't the difference be one actually had the ability to declassify documents and keep them because he'd been the president, and one didn't because he should have been looking at documents only in a skiff while a sitting U.S. senator, and clearly he stole classified documents that he wasn't entitled to and never had the ability to declassify them.
Yeah. Maybe you know more about that than I do. I don't remember that part of it, and I always don't trust anything I hear until I vet it from the other side, because everybody sort of has their one-sided view of it, and narrative is more important than truth. I know this is the right-wing narrative. I'm
not like that, Bill. I care about facts. I practiced law for 10 years. I want to get the cases right more than I want to get clicks, and I have a lot of lefties who watch me. So I'm not like that. All I can tell you is those are the facts.
Wow, I forgot about that last part there. He basically called her a liar. She literally just said exactly what happened. And honestly, she didn't dress it up right wing or left wing. She just said what happened when it came to the documents. And he's just like, well, a lot of people now, it's narrative is more important than truth. Can you imagine Bill Maher calling somebody else out, saying, narrative is more important than truth. And he just called Donald Trump a criminal. He just said he's a criminal that's going to transform the United States of America into an authoritarian state. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not sure if he said authoritarian, but he's going along those lines. Absolutely ridiculous. Amazing. And then at the end of having no answers for anything she said, basically calls her a liar in the sweetest way. Do you know how weird that is? Not even in a sweet way. It's actually in a pretty smarmy, slimy way to call somebody a liar. Like, you know how people are nowadays. He's basically saying, this is what I think about you, and I think you're going for narrative over truth. That's basically what he just said to her. And she was very calm about that. She's just like, I'm not like that. And he's like, nah, okay. Wow. This is why Bill Maher does monologues. This is the same reason Biden doesn't do interviews unless they're very scripted. The same reason he can't do anything without a teleprompter. Bill Maher needs to take notes from Joe Biden. He needs to see what Biden's doing, because they're not close in age, but Bill Maher's not far from there. He needs to look at what Biden's doing and say, I need to do that. That's why he's good with monologues, and he's good on his own show where he can control things. He has his own podcast where he can switch the topic whenever he wants to. That's where he needs to stay. But you can't come in front of other people and just have these ridiculous narratives. And you know what else I like? It's out of his realm of people just clapping. He says something and then people clap. And there's a little applause break. And then he gets, wow, absolutely amazing. Oh, I love to see it. Okay. You're going to have a criminal. Okay. Oh my gosh. It's absolutely ridiculous. And honestly, I think it's about that time. I think he's a little too old for this. Like, I get it. He doesn't like Trump. He's a little too, and no insult, but he's just not looking anything up. She just stated a case where she just went, well, Trump had the documents and he shouldn't have, but he was the president and he could have declassified them. Biden was vice president, didn't have the right to have them outside of the SCIF. If you don't know what that is, it's just a room and somebody's watching and blah, blah, blah. That's it. You can't take them out of the building, basically. You're vice president. You can't do that. You can't declassify things, so you shouldn't have it. Trump gets 2 charges, and you could say, okay, fine, deserves that, but Biden doesn't get 1, and he did the same thing, but worse, because he wasn't president. No case. And Bill Maher just sits there and goes, okay. And then to the Hillary Clinton stuff. Let me tell you something about Hillary Clinton, okay? Did she concede did she say right away Donald Trump is president? Has she ever said that?
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And I take responsibility for those parts of it that I should. But Jane, it was like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. And so I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. I don't know that we'll ever know everything that happened, but clearly we know a lot and are learning more every day, and history will probably sort it all out. So of course he's obsessed with me, and I believe that it's a guilty conscience in so much as he has a conscience. I believe he knows.
Wow, that's Hillary Clinton. And honestly, what's really different from what she's saying right now to what Trump says now about the election? The only thing is that Trump goes into depth about it. He says, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what they did, here, this is what they did. He just goes into it more, but she's basically saying the exact same thing. And she's not seen as somebody who's a threat to democracy. Well, let me rephrase that. She is a threat to democracy, but nobody says that about her. It's a little different. I gotta just make that little, gotta clear up that mistake. Here, let's play another Hillary Clinton clip. Do you think she stopped saying it? Let me tell you guys something. She was saying that for the first 6 months of Donald Trump's presidency. 6 months. 6 months, anywhere she would go, she would just be like this.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you. I think it's also...
What's the difference? She's saying the election was stolen. You see what I mean? And Bill Maher's just like, she didn't say that. Bill Maher's just in this whimsical world where Gavin Newsom would be the best president. Hillary Clinton is just this above board, spectacular human being. And Megyn Kelly, who's actually practiced law, is just saying things for right-wing narrative. That's what she's doing. That's all. Megyn Kelly is a far-right extremist. I guess if you're Bill Maher. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're not done, though. We got a little bit more Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly. Now they're talking about J6. Here's a quick one. Let me rewind this.
I think on January 20th, 2025, he'll show up at the White House, whether he's invited or not. And I don't think that's going to be good.
He's gonna bomb in if he lost?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Bomb is a word I wouldn't even throw around lightly.
Oh, stop it. He's not going to do that.
Right, like there was never an attack on the Capitol, Megan.
Oh, I hear you, but he's not going to show up at the inauguration.
Like they didn't show up at the Capitol and break windows and knock down doors and kill cops and chase.
They didn't do that.
And they didn't break windows,
they didn't
knock
kill
down
cops.
They of course did.
No, they didn't.
Who did? They died of natural causes that day?
Yeah, nobody died that day.
Cops.
No, not true. Who?
Okay.
Who?
Oh, I don't remember the names.
They didn't. There was Brian Sicknick, who died later after the fact, and the coroner's report did not say it was because of what he had inhaled that day. He said it had possibly accelerated the condition that killed him.
And again, she's not dressing this up. This is not the far right extremist narrative, She's just saying exactly what happened. Bill Maher's like, they killed cops. What do you mean? It was the biggest attack I ever seen. It was like Pearl Harbor. They dropped bombs. Bomb's not even a word I'd throw around lightly. Is he suggesting that Donald Trump is going to bomb the inauguration if he doesn't win? What? Bill Maher, man. Oh my gosh. I got to work on my Bill Maher impression because he deserves it. I'm going to work on that one. Absolutely ridiculous. And let me just say something really quick. I have said this before. I feel like Trump running for president right now is him conceding. Now, he talks about how it was unfair. He keeps talking about the things that actually happened, where he feels he actually won in terms of states. He talks about it all the time. But the fact that he's running shows that he understands who the president is right now, and he understands that he wants to be the next president. It's very clear. So to act like he's never conceded the election, like, what are you talking about? Him running, like, or else he'd be like, I shouldn't have to run. I'm still president. That's what he would do otherwise, if he was really the maniac that Bill Maher thinks that he is. Bill Maher is amazing. And then he's talking about just transforming it into I already brought that up, a authoritarian place. It makes no sense. And then the part about the special counsel. It's like he doesn't even know. And that's the thing with Bill Maher. It's like he doesn't know any of this. It's very weird. Because he should know. He should know these things. Like, to feel so passionately about Trump, you should know what you're talking about. And it actually seems like he doesn't know. And then he has the nerve to talk about other people painting narratives. It's like he's just been injected with a narrative. Like, and he just parrots it out. I remember when he was sitting with Patrick Bet-David. Patrick Bet-David's like, you want to see Gavin Newsom be president? He's like, oh, yeah. I think it'd be great. I love him. Why? You seriously doing this? Like, he doesn't know how to actually debate. He doesn't know how to do that. It seems like he does, based on his show and how they have it structured, but he actually doesn't know. And you know what needs to happen every 6 months? He needs to sit down with Bill Burr. I might even say every 90 days, he needs to sit down with this gentleman so he can say things like this.
This is why this is not your thing.
Make some hard-nosed decisions. It's not your thing. It's what you.
It is my thing.
It isn't your thing.
This is not your thing.
You're like that guy that has a fantasy football team and thinks he's a fucking GM.
No.
That's exactly what it is. Like, why am I fucking listening to you like you've done something?
This is why this is not your thing.
Oh my gosh. Listen, there is just, if you haven't watched that interview, I'm telling you, man, there is at least 8 minutes of Bill Burr just going in on Bill Maher. But that was the best one. That's why I made sure to get that one for you, because that sums him up completely. As a fantasy football team, thinks he's a real live GM, thinks he's actually in line with politicians. I don't think that. I make these videos. I don't think I know better than any politician. I can walk better than Biden. I can talk better than him. That's for sure. I can say that. I can say that with full certainty. But I don't know better than all these people. But I can see where they fall short. I can see the things that they're doing. I can see how terrible the border is. I can see these things. But Bill Maher actually feels like he knows better than most people. And it's very, very odd. And I've already said this before. I think it's because he's just a millionaire, and he's been a millionaire for so long, and he never has to talk to anybody who is working class, lower class. He never has to go to those places. Any place he shows up to, he's probably getting paid to be there. He's writing a book, and that's why he goes on other people's shows. Like, he's not doing the same thing that even other comedians are doing. Other comedians are grinding through the podcast circuit, and they're doing it for exposure. He's not doing any of that anymore. You know what I mean? He is like a very calm Robert De Niro. They have the same type of talking points, except Bill Maher will trot out some stuff. There's just like, he's like J6, they smashed windows and killed cops. And if he's in a certain room, no one's going to argue that. But thank God, Megyn Kelly's like, they didn't kill cops. And it's true. They didn't. The gentleman that she was talking about, Sicknick, he passed away after, and they deemed it as the actual report is of natural causes. That's actually what it says. So, no, they didn't kill any cops. No, Biden actually did take documents. No, Trump isn't going to transform this place into some authoritarian dystopian land. None of that's happening. None of it. And he keeps saying it. But you know what I will say about Bill Maher? Out of all the people who are clearly controlled, because there's no question now. There's been no question for a little while. I mean, I did a video where he's screaming on his podcast, I trust the deep state. It's the most unhinged thing I've ever seen. I'll dig up the clip another time, but he actually says he trusts the deep state. He's a very weird guy. Out of all the guys who are clearly controlled, he seems like the coolest. I'll give him that. He seems like a cool guy. You know what I mean? Sits in his basement. Look at that. He sits in his basement. He's with Bill Burr. They're having drinks. Then he says a bunch of stuff that's actually unbelievable coming out of human lips. You know what I mean? He's one of the cooler ones of these people. Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon, they're all stuffy. CNN, they're all stuffy propagandists. Bill Maher's a nice, relaxed propagandist. You know what I mean? He goes about it in a nice way. That's, because I like to be able to say some nice things about people every now and then. I just want to, I don't want to be all sour about this video. I just want to say something nice at the end. Out of all the controlled people who say the most ridiculous things out of their mouth, who are clearly controlled, bought, and paid for, soulless, he's the coolest. In case you ever see this, Bill, I think you're great at spreading propaganda. Out of all the people that do it, you're doing it the best. You're just doing it the best. Anyways, guys, that is it for this video. Pray for Bill Maher. I don't know what's going on. And you know what? You know what I will say? Tucker Carlson's talked about this in regards to Lindsey Graham. And I think even Matt Walsh has talked about this. You have to be so wary of people who are just old and rich and have no kids because they're just not invested in the future of the country. They're not thinking about the future of the country. They don't have to. They're not going to be here much longer. And, I don't wish that on anybody, but he's 68 years, or no, sorry, he's 68 years old. He's not going to be here as long as you and I are. God willing. You never know what could happen. But those people who are like that, they don't believe in God. They got no kids. They got no wife. They're just accumulating money and just drinking every day, and they're smoking every day. You have to be so wary. Like, you can't listen. If you're a man who has kids and you're worried about your kids' future, you can't listen to a guy like that. You can't, because he's not thinking in the same realm that you're thinking. You know what I mean? Anyway, just wanted to end it off with that. It is 90 degrees here. I'm sweating. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Other than that, I'm out.